Hey, if you're new to my channel, I want to tell you a little bit about how I got here. So for me, I moved really quickly in my career because I was doing everything right, everything we're supposed to do. I was working really hard. I was putting in the hours. I said yes to every project. And guess what? My manager was really happy and it kind of worked until it didn't. And I got stuck. And this was around senior manager. The formula that I thought was working just didn't work anymore. I was 27 and I basically burned out trying to outwork anyone around me to get a promotion. And I was so frustrated because I tried to become a director. I was rejected 17 times. Yes, 17. I counted. I had a spreadsheet. And at that point, I almost convinced myself that I wasn't good enough. So it's never going to happen. Honestly, I was this close to giving up, but I'm also very stubborn. So instead of giving up, I decided to double down, but not on more work, on trying to understand why some people got promoted. So I started paying a lot of attention to the leaders who are becoming directors and VPs. And what I realized is they weren't necessarily the hardest workers. They weren't the people with the most certificates and skills, but they were the people who had the most visibility. They knew how to talk about their work, and they had this executive presence about them. Now, at first, I thought that these people were fake, that they were just pretending. And I didn't want to be that kind of person. I thought talking about my work is going to be like bragging. People might think that I'm vain and that being humble is a good thing. But over time, I realized that there's more than one way to advocate for yourself or to show your presence. You don't have to be a creepy car salesman. You can actually be authentically you and still successfully advocate for yourself. And here's the funny thing. Once I figured this out, everything changed because I stopped having all of those negative feelings about the things I should be doing. And I started doing them consistently. I advocated for myself. I got more visibility. I really worked on my presence and people noticed. I started getting invited into more meetings. My manager wanted to put me up for promotion. And not only did I become a director, but just a few years later, I got my first VP role. And about 2 years after that, the second one. And by the way, that second VP role was for a company worth $500 million, which was always my dream. But after I got those 2 roles, I actually realized something else. No one really teaches you how to do this. They don't break down what it takes to become an executive. And I had to go through so much heartache and pain and trial and error. So maybe I could teach other people what I know. And I realized that really smart, capable people, what you would call high achievers, are actually the ones getting stuck the most because they're so busy being good at their job, they don't want to focus on those soft skills, or they don't actually know they need them. And that was the first time I thought about coaching. And I've done a ton of coaching throughout my career. I had teammates and colleagues and employees and even friends and family, and I loved showing them there's a different way. I got so excited every time someone told me, I finally made it. I got the promotion. I spoke to my manager. I shared my opinion. It built so much confidence, and that made me so happy. And that actually made me ask a really important question. Can I do that as my job? Can this be my profession? And when I realized the answer is yes, I decided to quit my corporate job after 20 years and build the business that I have today, where I help high achievers level up from senior manager or director into VP roles. And we don't do that by following some of the stupid corporate rules, but by being authentic, building confidence, executive presence, and learning how to talk about your work in a way that is so compelling, they can't help but ask you to take the next level. Now, I like to call myself corporate rebel because I don't believe in following the old rule book. I'm teaching a new one where you get to think and act like an executive, but do it on your terms. Because I learned you don't have to change who you are to be a great leader. You don't need to work yourself to the ground and burn out, and you don't have to compromise on crappy jobs or terrible culture. You can have all of that. You can have the job, the title, the salary, and the satisfaction. So this account is for high achievers, senior managers, and directors who are already working hard, who are already hitting their goals, but they're missing those unknowns to make the jump to the next level. The ones who are overlooked or under-recognized, not because they don't have the skills, but because they haven't learned how to talk about their work. And if you follow me in this account, you are going to learn how to position yourself for those executive roles, how to think and act like a VP before you get the title, so everyone else can actually see it. So this is my story and how I got here. How about you? What is your story? Share in the comments so I get to learn a little bit about you.